All right, so let's tackle this idea of the past tense. There are two. How do you choose? It can be frustrating for speakers of English, or for others as well, but hang in there, give yourself some time to learn, to absorb it, to practice it, to be exposed to it. It'll start to make more sense to you. Let's see if we can figure out how to choose between the imparfait and the passé composé. They are both used to talk about actions that happened in the past, but they give a different perspective. It's like looking at a snapshot versus an ongoing video, at a sound wave versus a burst of energy. The passé composé is the tense that you use when you're talking about what is in your mind a completed action, where you take the action as a whole, not as a process, but as a whole action, as a complete package. Each of these things happened. The whole act of doing your homework happened before 8 o'clock. You ate. That was, even though it took time to eat, the action itself it was one episode in your mind. You came home. You saw the Eiffel Tower. Those are things that happened within a specified end, a time that has a definite end to it, and you see it as a discrete event. Sometimes I like to think of that action as a snapshot. If you had a choice between taking a video or making a snapshot, the snapshot is the passé composé. So you see that action sort of frozen. It's all complete in that one picture. It's something that if you were going to make an outline of a story, you would put in the story as one of your bullet points because it's something that actually happened. If something else was going on, if you're giving a big description or some other action was happening in the background, this is the action that's in focus. So, for instance, if you said, I was doing my homework when the phone rang, well, you were doing your homework, that's the background, but the phone rang, that's the action that actually happened. On the other hand, the imparfait, which means imperfect, so it's something that's not quite complete yet, describes actions that have some sort of continuity, a feeling of being in progress or being incomplete. They are descriptions sometimes rather than actions, especially when you use the verb to be or it looked or the weather expressions. These are emotions, weather, states of mind, your desires, things that are not concrete. So when you describe them in the past, it has that feeling of sort of background information. Sometimes it refers to things that happened over and over again in the past, like I used to walk to school uphill twice a day. That happened over and over and over and over again with no end in sight. In English, we often indicate that process, that progress that the action is making with the ing ending. I was singing, he was studying, we were walking. Or with the form used to. I used to go to school by bus every day, or I used to wake up having nightmares every night. Something like that, where it happens over and over again, that is also used or is expressed by the imparfait. Here are some examples of the imparfait. I was sleeping, je dormais, because that's something that was going on. It's not something that like falling asleep, where it's from one moment to the next there's an action, but it was an ongoing action. He wanted, there's your emotion or your state of mind. We lived in France when we were little, that was an ongoing event. They used to walk to school daily, repeated event. What were you doing? In progress. It was cold and dark, it's a description, it's not really an action. And he came every Sunday, again, another repeated event. And you can compare the imparfait then to a video as opposed to a snapshot, or the background of a picture instead of what's in focus, or a continuous wave of action rather than bursts of discrete actions that interrupt it. So here are several different things. Which actions would you put in the imparfait? Okay, I want you to take a look at these. Think in your mind whether you would check them off or not, and then when you're ready, go to the next slide for answers. Now, some of these sentences have two verbs. They might both be in the imparfait, they might both be in the passé composé, or there might be one in each tense. So make sure you look at each different verb. So he was snoring, there's one. When I came into the room, there's a second one. Look at each verb that you see. Okay, let's see the answers. These are the ones that probably would be expressed by the imparfait. Okay, take a look at them, and then what I want you to do is to translate those sentences into French. So we'll put each sentence on a different slide. You can look at it, take a piece of paper, write it down, and then compare what you wrote to what the answer is on the following slide. Okay, let's start with the first sentence. He was snoring when I came into the room. There's the verb to snore, ronfler, it's a regular ER verb. So try to write that down. He was snoring when I came into the room. Okay, so the first one was background, and it was a continual sort of ongoing thing, as indicated by the ing. But I entered the room, that was an action on my part. So il ronflait, imparfait, quand je suis entrée dans la chambre, the second action being in the passé composé. Okay, let's go to do the next one. They were living in Florida. And I don't really care whether you use the verb habiter or the verb vivre. Either one would be okay here. Okay, let's see. I used the verb habiter, and I said ils habitaient with the imparfait en Floride. If you used vivre, it would be ils vivaient, V-I-V-A-I-E-N-T, en Floride. Okay, next one. I bought a new dress. So let's see what you did. It should have been the passé composé. That was an action that was just discrete, boxed up, complete. I bought a dress. J'ai acheté une nouvelle robe. Next one. There are two verbs in this, so make sure that you think about both of them. We called, meaning by phone, as soon as we arrived. Okay, let's try that. You'll notice that I put both of them in the passé composé. They didn't overlap. It wasn't that one was going on and then the other interrupted it. One happened and then the other happened. I arrived and then we phoned. So both of them are in the passé composé. Next one. You wanted to go to the beach, but it was raining all day. Two verbs. Okay, let's see what you got. Now, the you wanted, emotions can be sort of tricky, but generally speaking, you're pretty safe to put them in the imparfait, which is what I did. Tu voulais aller à la plage, mais il pleuvait toute la journée. The phrase all day long sort of tells you that it was an ongoing, continuous event. So both of these are in the imparfait. Okay, let's look at the next one. She wrote me a letter while I was on vacation. Okay, let's try it. The first one was an action. She wrote a letter. I was on vacation was sort of the background. I was on vacation and that got interrupted by her writing a letter. So, elle m'a écrit une lettre pendant que j'étais en vacances. Okay, another one. The food that I ate while I was waiting made me sick. Now, this actually has 3 different verbs in it. The food that I ate while I was waiting made, that's rendre, me sick. Okay, see if you can work on this one a bit. The food that I ate while I was waiting made me sick. Okay, let's give it a try. Okay, so we have a couple of dependent clauses here. La nourriture que, there's your that. J'ai mangé, that was a discrete action that you ate it. Pendant que, anytime you have while, that's always a continual action, so that would be the imparfait. Pendant que j'attendais, m'a rendu malade, it made me sick. That happened in a fixed point of time. The reason the E is there in parentheses is because of the me. If you are a girl, you would have had to write m'a rendu with an E, malade, because the past participle agrees with the preceding direct object, which actually I made a mistake in this. The manger should also have an E on it because the que is the direct object there referring to la nourriture. So manger should also have an E. So that's the end of that. So I have now a small sort of practice test for you. So I gave you an index card in class and you're supposed to take that home with you. So get that out, put your name on it because you're going to turn it in tomorrow, and then do the next slide. So pause this until you're ready. Okay, so here's your little quiz. On the next slide, I have some English sentences, and I have 2 different French translations of the verb, with the subject and verb. You're supposed to look at the 2 possibilities, look at the English sentence, and decide would you choose the imparfait or would you choose the passé composé. So write down the words that you chose, and then you're going to go back and think why you chose the verbs in the tense that you chose. Okay, so you'll pick from these reasons. There might be others, so if you want to say other, you're welcome to do that, but I think these 6 will do for you. So pick the reason that you did it. So you're going to first of all write number 1, put the verb that you chose, or the verb phrase that you chose, and then next to it put the letter of the reason why you chose that tense. Okay, so you'll have a number, a verb phrase, and then a letter. Right? So here we go. Take the time that you need. Don't go back and look. See what you can do just on your own after having gone over this video. So there are 8 sentences. I highlighted in bold the part that I'm translating. So on the right-hand side is the 2 possible French translations. Pick the one you want, write it next to the number 1, and then if you need to go back and look at those reasons, go ahead and do that. Pause this if you need more time, and then when you're done, just turn it off and bring your card to class. À demain.